Shadows crawling in the bright daylight, voices twisted, feeding us the blight, telling stories that were never true. We fight to break on through. Lies are woven like a velvet chain, slick with power driving us insane. But the fire burns deep within our chests. We fight, we'll never rest. We rise with fists clenched high, tearing through the veil, the sky. Truth's a blade that cuts the dark. We fight, we'll never rest. We rise with fists clenched high, tearing through the veil, the sky. Truth's a blade that cuts the dark. We fight, we make a mark. They call us rebels, say we've lost our way, but freedom's blood, it fuels the fray. From the ashes comes a brighter light. We fight with all our might. See resolve in the roaring storm, breaking cages will rewrite the norm. No more silence, no more disguise. We fight with open eyes. We rise with fists clenched high, tearing through the veil, the sky. Truth's a blade that cuts the dark. We fight, we'll never rest. We rise with fists clenched high, tearing through the veil, the sky. Truth's a blade that cuts the dark. We fight, we make a mark. We fight, we make a mark.
We're going to advance the story for you first here on the show tonight before we even put a story up on Just the News. It turns out it wasn't the only suspected leak that the FBI came across. In fact, it identified about a dozen stories in the legacy media that drafted and created the Russia collusion narrative, which we now know to be fully debunked, that it contained national secrets. Information that was classified all the way up to the highest level, the stuff that only presidents and FBI directors get to see. Tonight, we're going to tell you about another person that they had concerns about. He was FBI Director James Comey's media mole. That's what they used to call him inside the FBI. He worked around the FBI press office as a private citizen working as a special government employee. He was a Columbia Law professor named Daniel Richman. And when the FBI finally confronted him and said, hey, what were you doing talking to the media? He admitted his job was to to improve or polish the image of James Comey from some of the negative coverage he was getting, and to set the narrative, to basically shape the narrative on Russia collusion and other stories in Washington. And when they confronted him and said, hey, you met with James Comey, you got some classified information, you then talked to a reporter very soon after who reported some of that classified information, he said this is going to turn out to be one of the great denials in all of Washington's history. There's a lot of Washington speak. This one will be remembered as a famous one. I don't think I leaked if you give me a discount, basically saying, I deny doing that with a discount. In other words, you have to give me a little discount on my truthfulness when I deny that I didn't leak that information. With that information, the FBI and the Justice Department decided, like they did with Adam Schiff, not to pursue any further criminal investigation. They didn't bring people before a grand jury. They didn't ask Congressman Schiff, now Senator Schiff, to come before a grand jury. They basically left it at these sort of wily interviews and intriguing pieces of evidence that certainly pointed to a large number of leaks. We're going to make all these documents available over the next several nights on justthenews.com.
Woo! Shifty shift. It's not looking good, man. We're going to get him. We're going to get this guy. He is in trouble. I love it. I love what we are doing here, folks. What Trump is getting done is unbelievable. It's beautiful. And we're just winning. Got a lot of winning to talk about tonight. We're going to cover all of it that I could find, especially the Schiff story. We're going to start there. But it's more than just that. We're seeing winning across all areas including the border, the economy, you name it, and exposure. Exposure is key. Exposure of the political evil actors, the crooks, exposure of what's going on in the market's starting to happen a little bit, and exposure of the influencer shills. Yes, I'm talking tonight about the continuation of what's going on with this whole Nick Fuentes thing. It has to be covered. I did a video on it today, and oh man, Groypers are big mad at me, but you know what? I got more to say, but we'll do that at the end. We'll do the rest of the show pretty much as normal, and then I'll cover that at the end. But it's very interesting stuff. You're going to want to stick around till the end if you want to see Nick Fuentes in his own words showing you what an absolute fraud he is. In the meantime, welcome to tonight. You're watching the Ace Report. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. If you're watching on X, hit that repost as well. I appreciate it. Please share with your friends and family and anybody who needs some waking up to what's really going on in our nation and how things are actually on the right track, finally, in most areas, and getting there in others. I truly believe it, and I keep bringing the receipts. So first, before we get started, though, let's say hey to some people up in this hizzy. What's up, YouTube? How we doing tonight? Vinman numero uno tonight. Chad C, what's up? Stephen Cromer, Charlie M, Pedro Rod, Shogun, likes the early stream. Thank you, sir. BN Pro, Michael Tucker, Richie Rich, Cass Inc., Technology Spastic, Hero at Large, Frank Anastasio, Toe Cramp, Big JR, what is going on? Smash that like. Ellie, what's going on? By the way, I see 53 watching so far just as we get started here. And, you know, more of you should say hi. Love it. Michael Tuckers is not tired of winning. Can't wait to see Carolyn Levin in American Eagles jeans hat. I don't think Big JR could handle it. I think his head might explode. That's truth right there. Half the guys in this chat would lose it. You know, they think Sydney Sweeney's a big seller. Do that with Carolyn Levitt, and MAGA will blow out the sales. It will just go crazy. What's up, Christina Abbott from Canada? Are any of our other Canadians here? Moody, you here tonight? Moody always says hi, so I'm sure she'll jump on at some point. I know people are getting used to the time change, me coming on earlier. Everybody was used to me showing up super late between 11 and midnight Eastern time, but trying to work out this earlier schedule. Most people seem to like it, but I know others aren't used to it, and that's okay. We will figure it out. It will all get used to it. So let's see what's up over on Rumble. How you guys doing over there? Good to see you all. And on X, I cannot see you because it only goes to comments. So I'm sorry if I don't read you out loud. All right, let's get right into it tonight, guys, because we got a lot to cover. So let's get started. So first of all, let me move this right here. Kash Patel, this was from last night. Actually, while I was on, this started unfolding. So I didn't get to cover it last night. But as John Solomon just said, we got big stuff happening with this Adam Schiff stuff. So here's Kash Patel saying, we found it, we declassified it. Now Congress can see how classified info was leaked to shape political narratives and decide if our institutions were weaponized against the American people. Well, I'll tell you, not only were they weaponized against the American people, they're weaponized against Donald Trump and his administration, especially, well, not all of his administration. Some of them were in on it, but definitely weaponized against him. And there's a lot of people right now who are trying to poo-poo this, saying like, oh, there's nothing there. And then the other ones are saying, well, even if there was some there, it's out of statute of limitations. No, sorry. This could fall under espionage, in which case it's a 10-year statute of limitations, which means we're still well within it. And not to mention, if it's seditious conspiracy, well, that conspiracy continued as long as they can connect the dots all the way at least until the Mar-a-Lago raid, which was only 3 years ago. 3 short years ago. So we're still well within statute of limitations. Lots of fear up on DC. You better believe they're panicking. And the best part of all is it's starting. Well, it's not starting, but one of the big ones it's starting with is Adam Schiff, pencil neck Schiff, red-faced Schiff. I mean, he's got to be one of the grossest looking dudes. Look at that face. He just looks, he looks like somebody who's just permanently drunk. You ever seen like a hardcore alcoholic, just that puffy face? That's how Adam Schiff looks all the time. And he's also got the bug eyes, which are freaky, man. But here it is right here. Praying Medic shares. It appears Adam Schiff could be charged for violating the Espionage Act under 18 U.S.C. 798, unauthorized disclosure of classified information, 10-year statute of limitations. This includes provisions like gathering, transmitting, or losing defense information, prohibits the unauthorized disclosure of information related to national defense. Oh, okay. Also, disclosure of classified information, which is what this would fall under. This section specifically criminalizes the knowing and willful disclosure of classified information to unauthorized individuals. It applies the information concerning cryptographic systems, communication, intelligence activities, and classified defense strategies. So yeah, he signed off on classified intel being shared in order to hurt the president, undermine our election. No, kind of a big deal. Just saying that. This stuff keeps coming out, and you better believe that again and again. So many people blackpilling that nothing's going to come out of this, and I'm telling you, when the administration is leading the charge on this drip with that information, it's going to become impossible for them to walk it back and just say, you know what, nothing burger, we give, we're done. No, that's not what happens when this comes from the top down. It's one thing for information to come out from the ground floor. It's one thing for grassroots to expose stuff, for even the media to bring things up, but because they're trying to expose it to the people in power to get something done, and it's easy for the people in power to be like, yeah, we're just gonna pretend we didn't see that, or yeah, cool, good job guys, high fives, sure, we'll look into that for you, and then nothing happens. But when it's coming from the top down, you're creating an uproar with the people. And I'm telling you that this, there's a reason they're doing this in order like this. It's little by little, drip. We're seeing more and more of the people we all suspected, many of us knew, but the confirmations are hitting left and right. And I'll tell you, when so many of us known Schiff is dirtbag crook. So many of us knew that. So many of us knew about Lynn Cheney and Obama and Clapper and Brennan. So when you get this confirmation coming out, it's more just saying, yeah, we are going to do exactly what you guys hoped we would do. Otherwise they would have just glossed over and pretended nothing happened. You don't do this otherwise. Stephen Cromer asks, did Schiff buy a pardon? I highly doubt it. Lyrical asks, how big of a deal from the mountains? Big deal. They went against the Constitution. Absolutely, they did. Hero at Large says, Kamala, is that you? I don't know. Schiff looks, yeah, he could be a wine box guy. That puffy face, though, I mean, that's more of a guy who's like drinking martinis at 9 a.m. That's what I'm used to. Like when I worked at a golf club for 3 years. I bartended at a golf club, and there lots of drunks there, lots of drunks, day in day out drunks. These guys would go golfing 7 a.m. and they'd be having me pour them stiff drinks. Hey, kid, give me a gin and tonic. That would be like 5 shots in that thing. And that's how they'd start their morning, and they'd go all day, 4 or 5 days a week. And they were drinking just as heavy at the end of the day. That's what their faces look like. Their faces, that's what their faces look like. They're just swollen permanently from living like that. So, yeah, that's enough. But yeah, so I think Schiff, he's probably a martini guy. He's got all that Dem donor money. They, paying him under the table to get this done. All the USAID money before it dried up. Try to knock him out. Getting him to basically commit borderline treason, or at least break the Espionage Act. I mean, against his own country. So yeah, he's probably drinking good stuff. That's how you get. That's how you get a face like that. It's not the cheap stuff, because you can't drink the cheap stuff all day. That's the guys who live on the curb, unless you're Kamala and you're drinking box wine. Vinman says, Schiff dating one or both of the Vinman brothers. I think he just stuck with Alex. Yeah. Lyrical, if the average person does anything like that, lock up and never see again. Absolutely. Absolutely. DeSantis says Florida's oh yeah. We'll get to that in a minute though. So they put Janine Pirro, newly anointed Judge Janine Pirro on it. She's a firebrand. So again, I feel very good about this. Here's some of the holy Schiff. Reading it in person so much better. Here's the Democrat whistleblower statement. And there's some redaction here, which we'll get back into a moment. But it says, when working in this capacity, blank was called to an all-staff meeting by Schiff. In this meeting, Schiff stated the group would leak classified info, which was derogatory to President of the United States, Donald Trump. Schiff stated the information would be used to indict President Trump. There it is. Man. And they didn't investigate this because it was the Biden FBI. They just dropped it, moved on. Nothing to see here, folks. Literally told them, we're going to drop classified information and use it to indict the President of the United States. That is insane. That's insane. Blank stated this would be illegal, and upon hearing his concerns, unnamed members of the meeting reassured that they would not be caught leaking classified information. So one guy's like, we can't do this. It would be illegal. And they just chime in and are like, nah, don't worry. You won't be caught. This is crazy. Talk about Adam Schiff has got to be one of the most arrogant SOBs in the entire United States, and especially on the Democratic side of things. Blank was again approached about leaking classified info in a separate meeting by these unnamed individuals, believed this activity to be an unethical and treasonous, was concerned about the discussions, and as a result reached out to contacts from his prior employment for guidance on where to report this experience. These discussions led to contact the FBI regarding his concerns. So this is what's important. Because he contacted the FBI, there's going to be a paper trail to validate his statement here. And so that's a big deal. This isn't just somebody coming out and making it up without any way to corroborate it. No, it'll be there. So that matters. That matters. So there's a statement, pretty crazy stuff. And on top of this, Schiff is going after, he's getting gone after for mortgage fraud as well. So one way or the other, they are going to put this man away. But if they can't get him on this, they'll get him on the lesser thing, the mortgage fraud, but they'll put him away for a while, charge him, but they'll ruin his reputation forever by releasing all this, destroy him and his entire political career. So he's going down one way or the other, folks. And then there's this craziness right here. In 2017, Q referenced Adam Schiff as a leaker. Right here. December 10th, 2017. Blunt direct time. Adam Schiff's a traitor to our country. Leaker. National security. Hope the 7.8 million was worth it. Enjoy the show. So crazy stuff, man. Again, the Q stuff is either real or it's the most insane coincidence ever. The stuff that it just keeps getting validated over and over again from these Q posts. Tokram says, remember, he straight-faced read a fake transcript of a Ukraine call. I believe it was utter perjury presenting as fact. That's absolutely true. Cocaine's a hell of a drug, says JR. Yeah, it is. Christina, won't that then implicate corrupt FBI? Because we never heard about it from them. Well, it does. The problem is you would have to just go after the agents on an individual basis. And then you're dealing with who gave them the order to stand down. And it could be, you could be getting into some he said, she said stuff. So yeah, it's unlikely unless they can really nab an FBI agent on a crime with this stuff. that they go after anybody in the FBI. But what it does is, as this information continues to come out, it shows and it exposes the utter corruption of the Biden administration and before that, the FBI at that time as a deep state. It just continues to support that. It continues to show that to the American people, waking us up. So it's still a big deal whether or not, even if FBI agents don't get busted for that. BJR said too much butt plug time can make you a leaker. Ask. Maybe that's why his eyes are always like that. Butt plug. Did you guys ever see the old movie Dirty Work with Norm Macdonald? It's like with the dog, the guy holding the dog. It's like, I think he got his finger up that dog's butt. That's what that made me think of. Anyways, let's move on to more important things. Mike Benz showing this pretty crazy thing, actually. Grok, they put this statement into Grok with the redactions, and the AI was able to figure out some of the names. So this is going to be a tool you better believe going forward lots of people are going to use, which is pretty insane. The fact that we can get some stuff unredacted. Now, I don't know this name, Rianne Workala, but they were able to piece together that some of the redactions in here were this name. So AI, again, just making some amazing things happen here. Lyrical says, Q has been on point like watching a movie or major. Well, yeah, absolutely. Stephen Cromer, gosh dang, it's a lot of winning. Oh, just wait, because next, check this out. We have the Justice Department has served New York Attorney General Letitia James with a pair of subpoenas as part of a grand jury investigation into her $454 million civil fraud case against President Trump. They served her a pair of subpoenas, guys. It's coming. And here's she is dancing to it. But it's about to get served, yo. Get served. It's beautiful. I cannot wait to see that woman put behind bars as well. I mean, anybody who would, I mean, even if it was some regular Joe Schmo on the street, some poor guy, and you changed the rules of the law, the state laws to go after him, that's disgusting. And that's exactly what they did with Trump. They took several misdemeanors that were beyond the statute of limitations, and they put together a fake case using those charges to go after him. And then when it came time for the jury to deliberate, the judge told them, you don't have to pick a crime. You just have to decide, like any of these charges against him, you don't have to decide which ones he's guilty of. You just have to decide if he's guilty. It's one of the most corrupt cases of all time, and completely put together by this woman just to try and take out Donald Trump. And it gave the left the opportunity to say, oh, he's a convicted felon. Well, it's time for her to go down. So they're subpoenaing her over this case, which they're going to find all kinds of stuff. It'll go on public record. And by the way, she's also going down for mortgage fraud. It's amazing how that happens. Her and Shifty Schiff together, lying about their residencies, buying houses in other states with the lies. It's a whole paper trail going down. I cannot wait to see how this goes down and get rid of these people. So on the arrest stuff, that's what's going down. And believe me, the Russiagate stuff is continuing to percolate as well. We got the grand jury being set up, all that. So lots of winning on going after the corruption side of things. And then we have the deportations. This is a massive story that came out today. Illegal immigrant population is now down on the year 1.6 million since Trump came in. 1.6 million. And guys, that's all before, well, 90% of it is before the funds for the big, beautiful bill were passed. So on a shoestring budget, Trump has been able to get rid of 1.6 million illegal immigrants in our country. That is a miracle. And part of it is because they're self-deporting. Because of the arrangement he made, we will pay for your flight. We'll give you $1,000 if you self-deport. Well, now that they see the writing on the wall with all the ICE money that they just got a $45 billion cash injection plus the wall being built, they're seeing all this happening and they're saying, we're leaving. At this rate, if this continues, and by the way, we have every reason to think it'll actually accelerate now that everything's funded. They basically did this on just a couple $1 billion. Imagine what they'll do with $45 billion. But enough said on that. The fact is it'll probably accelerate. But if this rate just held, that's 3.2 million gone a year, which means by 2028, the end of 2028, we would have 12.8 million have been deported. That, my friends, changes everything. That's massive. And this is just the illegals. Many legal immigrants have left as well. In fact, because it's getting harder and harder to stay here, we're vetting them better, all that. The State Department's putting them through harder interview processes. The H-1B process is getting tougher. Even legal immigrants are starting to leave, which, I'm not against immigration as long as it's legal. It's a wonderful thing. It can be really good for our country if it's legal and if it's being used correctly. But it's still good for a reset for us. And if you count the legal immigrants as well, we're down over 3 million this year. Think about all the money that saves on services, housing, how many rentals that opens up. I mean, the lines down at businesses. I mean, yes, it'll take some money out of the economy, but the strain on the government services, on what people are going through at hospitals and everything, that's all going to go down significantly, and it's only going to continue. But we're currently on pace to see nearly 13 million less in the country by the end of 2028, and that's just the trend of the first 6 months before it was even funded. Trump is pulling off a miracle, and it's absolutely incredible. And here's Peter Sainong. I want to play this clip talking about net migration just went negative for the first time since 1945. Shockingly, the fruit's still getting picked. Houses are still getting built. America's lawns have not reabsorbed civilization. But let me play this clip because it's just, he's got really good stuff, and that is not what I wanted to do.
Net migration just went negative for the first time in 50 years. Shockingly, the fruit is still getting picked. The houses are still getting built. America's lawns have not reabsorbed civilization. The news comes from CNN, who actually sells it short. According to the Committee on National Statistics, the last time migration was negative was 1945, as in the boys came home from Europe and wanted their jobs back. This is quite a turnaround from Biden. Last year, according to the Census Bureau, net migration was plus 2.8 million, which is more than the population of Nebraska. Of course, it may be much higher since known criminals presumably did not check in with Officer Bob. The main driver, of course, was closing the border. Border encounters, so people caught trying to sneak in, are down 90. People trying to sneak in are down 97%.
97%.
A year and a half ago, under Biden, we had 250,000 encounters per month. That's down to just 141 per day on a 2,000-mile border, so that's one every 14 miles. More important, migrants are actually getting arrested. Instead of getting a free bus ticket and a prepaid MasterCard, for the third month in a row, there have been 0 illegals released into the country.
That's amazing. 0 illegals entered into the country for the third month in a row. We are witnessing, guys, we're witnessing a miracle. Like, what Trump is pulling off is nothing short of miraculous. And this is how we get our country back. This is how we get our country back. I had this other thought today, too. One thing that I know many of us expected to happen this summer, and myself included, was I thought they were going to pull off another summer of love, quote unquote, like 2020. The riots, and it all started in LA. Remember the riots with the immigrants? I covered it for the weekend, got all crazy. We had the No Kings rallies across the country. And then Trump pulled off that military parade. And what happened after that? Silence. It has been silent all summer. Now the summer is almost over. Guys, we made it through the entire summer with basically one weekend of riots in LA. If you're wondering if Trump's in charge, oh yeah, Trump's in charge. It's an incredible thing. Somehow nobody's talking about this. And I realized myself, I'd forgotten about it. But at the beginning of the summer, several people were saying, get ready. They're talking about this in chat rooms. They're preparing. But here's what happened. Without USAID money and with Trump actually utilizing the military this time and the National Guard, but willing to put them in to cities to quell these revolutions, and then doing that display of the military, it shut it down, guys. I mean, this time Trump's showing us over and over again, the deep state is no longer in charge. They're still an enemy. We're still breaking them down, but they're no longer in charge. It's incredible. I think they saw it wasn't on a fly. That's right. Vinman says, I worked at a shelter for abused kids in 05, found out 3 illegal young boys costing the USA and Florida a total of $1 million a year for their services and stuff. That's insane. Cromer says, riots are over since they shut down USA. That's a big part of it for sure. D6 says, it's the kind of thing we shouldn't have to think about. An unruly American society should not be an expectation. Well, you're right. And speaking of unruly, Trump's now cleaning up D.C. And look at this. Here's a thread of the thugs Trump rounded up last night. Fuentes, that's Nick Fuentes, claims this is secret police for Israel and is upset black criminals are getting resigned. I'm telling you guys, we're going to do some Nick Fuentes stuff at the end because he is a joke. But look at this. This is from the White House last night. Already one day of taking over D.C., one night. Multi-agency task forces hit the streets of Washington, D.C., cleaning up crime, keeping neighborhoods safe. One night, they arrested 37 criminals, seized 11 illegal firearms, issued 4 narcotics charges. He looks nice, right? And they just show them all. So possession of firearm, possession with intent, distribute narcotics, carrying pistol without a license. Now, listen, I'm a Constitution guy. I like the Second Amendment, but in DC, it has some of the strictest gun laws in the nation, and it's only the law-abiding people who abide by them. That's how it always is. So anyways, we go through them all. But listen, this is stuff nobody else does, and this is the kind of thing that just drives me nuts when people are like, Trump's controlled by Israel. He's just one of them again. He's I was listening to Fuentes' response last night to all the attacks on him. And he was saying that, Trump, it was their pick in 2024. He said in 2016, Hillary was their pick. In 2020, Biden was their pick. And in 2024, Trump was the pick of the deep state. And I'm like, bro, that makes no sense at all. Zero, none. Because there's no continuity here between Trump and the other presidents that were part of the deep state. There's no continuity at all. Trump just took over DC, locking them up. He's shipping the illegals out. I mean, are you kidding me? He's shutting down the wars left and right. And he's getting closer with Russia and Ukraine. I mean, it's unbelievable what we're seeing. They tried to kill him. I mean, it's insane to even think about that. They cut off U.S. aid, and now we see the Democratic Party just done. I mean, it's insane, guys. I know like how anybody takes this guy seriously, and yet he's huge. You should see when I did the video about Milo tearing him up, I got so many comments from guys protecting Nick Fuentes from, it drives me nuts. It doesn't make sense. Tokram says he is controlled by common sense and patriotism. There you go. Stephen Cromer says DNC and Act Blue growing broke. Oh yeah, they are big time. And then we got more stuff coming out, like because Trump's doing this, well, people in DC are starting to get willing to speak up. So here's Nancy Pelosi. Donald Trump delayed deploying National Guard on Jan 6 when our capital is under violent attack. Now he's activating DC Guard. And then guess who ratios her? Oh, the police chief. Ma'am, it's long past time to be honest with the American people. On January 3rd, I requested National Guard assistance, but your Sergeant at Arms denied it. Under federal law, is prohibited from calling them in without specific approval. That same day, Carol Corbin at the Pentagon offered National Guard support, but I was forced to decline because I lacked the legal authority. While the Capitol was under attack, and despite my repeated calls, your Sergeant at Arms again denied my urgent request for over 70 agonizing minutes, running up the chain for your approval. When I needed assistance, I was denied. Yet when it suited you, you ordered fencing topped with concertina wire and surround the Capitol with thousands of armed National Guard troops. This is unbelievable. So the chief of police of Washington, D.C. has now called out Nancy Pelosi for denying the National Guard. And what have we been hearing left and right? We know this. We caught her on tape. We caught her daughter on tape admitting it, and yet they're going around denying it. And now the police chief himself called her out on X and ratioed the crap out of her. I mean, look at the likes. She's got 13,000 likes. He's got 14,000 on way less impressions. That's how you do it, folks. That's how you do it. That is a fact checked indeed. Lyrical says, so happy with the result. Trump has done really good. He's been able to control the narrative and the process has been on point. Absolutely it has. And I know there's stuff we still want to see. Do not get me wrong. I want to see Obama arrested. I want to see these people get busted. I want to see the Epstein stuff brought to its end and get it all out there. I want to see all that, guys. Absolutely I do. But it's all a process and it all has to be done the right way. I want to see the stock markets fixed. I want to see the fraud in the markets fixed. Of course I do. But I have no reason to believe it's not going to happen. I'll see it. All right, Vin, I'll try to pull that up towards the end. Donald Trump getting a hole in one. I definitely want to see that. All right. And then there's more winning. Can it's like more. Headline CPI came out today. Guess what? Under expectations. Inflation, core inflation came in at 2.7%, expected to be 2.8%. Where's the tariff inflation, bros? Where'd it go? Where is it? Because we ain't seeing it. Yes, there actually is a little bit of inflation in some goods. Absolutely, that makes sense. But guess what? Because of tariffs, it's one time. Those prices go up once and they stay there. They don't keep rising because the tariffs are a set amount. So those will go up once and then it'll taper off. It won't keep rising. But you know what else is down? Energy. Energy is down, which affects everything. Shelter starting to go down, affects everything. Food was flat, 0% inflation on food for the month, and in some areas going down. That's massive. That's also greatly impacted by energy because gas is carting all this food around. So guys, Trump's being proven right. The tariffs are not killing anything. They're not. And instead, we're just bringing billions and hundreds of billions into the treasury. The economy is staying stable despite the fact there's a lot of issues in our economy. A lot of issues still. And I'm still praying that we don't get the major downturn that I think is still possible. But I tell you what, the more Trump pulls off, the more I'm thinking he might pull off an economic miracle and we might avoid that crash. There still has to be some sort of correction with all the leverage in the markets, but the economy itself might avoid a major recession that it was headed for and looked almost impossible to get out of. But I tell you what, I didn't think we'd deport this many people this fast. I didn't realize their impact on the economy. I didn't think we were going to do this tariff deal that just is actually working. I didn't think Trump would pull off trade deals left and right that are bringing trillions into our economy and investment. Guys, it is an economic miracle he's pulling off so far. And all the people out there freaking out about the tariffs. And yes, I get it. Some people's goods have gone up. It has impacted importing businesses. It definitely has. I'm not denying that. But the overall impact of the economy has been almost nothing. And then when you add the fact of what's coming into the treasury, that major benefit, and then you add the fact that manufacturing is starting to be built here, all the negative effects right now, which are low, they're there, but they're low. All those negative effects will turn into a positive within the next few months and definitely over the next few years. And then we have this much better system put in place. And somehow we avoided the massive destruction of these things that everybody predicted. It's amazing. And it just proves again how genius Trump is on all this stuff. Nick is a plant version of Greta Thunberg, but in this reason. That's hilarious. Lyrical asked me, how do I feel with my prediction? How on point you've been? Well, I appreciate it, Lyrical. Listen, if anything, Trump's been even better than I expected him to be this time. I'll say that. The one thing he hasn't done that I thought he would have already gone after, at least in some form already, would have been the Wall Street stuff. But yeah, I mean, listen, why do you think I started talking about politics more, guys? More than stocks? Because I just understand it so much better, and I just have a grip on the whole Trump thing. I don't know why it is. I don't fully understand it, but I just get him, and he just makes sense, and I trust him, and that trust continues to be rewarded. So yeah, do I feel good about a lot of my predictions? Absolutely I do. It feels good to be vindicated. It feels good to be right. I mean, guys, I waited for years for this. I did my 2 years of lives, well, a year and a half of lives before the election with you guys. But even before that, for 2.5 years, I was talking about Trump's coming back. I have no doubt of it, and this is what it's going to look like. I have a lot of ideas on what he's going to do this next time. And people thought I was crazy. But now it's happening, and it feels wonderful. And I'm telling you, because of that, because I was forged in that fire of doubt and being willing to look crazy and all that stuff, and went through my own personal stuff during that time, where I'm telling you, because it's working out now, and just as I hoped and predicted, I got to tell you that it also tells me that's one of the ways I know who's lying. That's one of the ways I can spot the influencers who are full of it, and I can spot the people who are playing games. And that's one of the reasons, like I had to bring up that Nick Fuentes stuff, because I've been talking about him for a long time, and I feel like there's a crest coming up right now with exposing him, and I'm going to ride that, because I don't think he's good for anybody. I don't. And he is specifically speaking to young men, and he's terrible for them, and he's wrong about so much. So that's why I bring up these people, and I will continue to do it when others come up. And but yeah, and so that's all to speak to what you said, Lyrical. He says, I think crypto tokenized will regulate and force a mass cleanup, and why Trump says it's time to buy in the market. I think you might be right. I actually think there's part of that for sure. Boswell says, if taxpayers get a tax rebate, it'll balance things out. I am wondering, I'm very curious what their number is on the tariffs to see if we could get a tax rebate, which if Trump did that, and listen, I want that tax money to go into the Treasury to keep down our debt and all that, because that's important. But I think for the first year, it would be absolutely brilliant to give the taxpayers a check for the tariff money, because we stuck with him through this scary experiment, and we should be rewarded for that. And on top of that, most Americans are still struggling. It's a perfect excuse to give them money, because it's not going to cost the government anything extra. It's coming out of money that wasn't expected to come in. And it would just be massively popular before the election. And there's a lot of people saying, like, well, it'll impact inflation. That's more inflation in the market, blah, blah, blah. No, because this isn't money being created out of nothing. This isn't turning the printers on. This is actual real money earned by good policy. And that is why it won't blast up inflation. So I agree with you, Boswell. We should do a tax rebate. Spaghetti Ninja asks, do I think Trump will deal with the market corruption, or is it too big for Trump? First of all, I don't think anything's too big for Trump to deal with. I really don't. I think they have a plan for the market stuff that is, it's more thought out, and I think it's a better plan than what we all want. And what do we want? We want Trump to immediately put an end to it. We want him to come out, slap a temporary ban on short selling completely, to force out the naked shorts, to spike everything up, crash the market temporarily, rebuild, and lots of pain for temporary gain, and then long-term rebuilding better. That's what most of us want. And then obviously going right after the hedge fund people, indicting them, locking them up, all that stuff. That's what we want. We want fast, intense fix. We want punishment for these people. We want to feel good about it, and we want it to be rip-roaring exciting while it happens. That's what everybody's been talking about. I think what we're starting to see is that Trump's actual answer to it is to rebuild the economy and the markets in a way that's going to make it, when it's all set in motion, it'll make it impossible to continue what they're doing. And what I think he's planning on doing is bleeding them out, but bleeding them out slower, and then starting to move behind the scenes when that brings it all to the surface. I think that's what Trump's doing. And the reason I think he's doing it that way is because to Trump cares about every single person in our country's doing well. Every legal person who is a good, patriotic American, law-abiding citizen. He wants us all to financially do well. So if Trump hears, we got to fix the markets, we could ban short selling, and it would have a lot of market. Sorry, I got this itch, man. It's not from the Coke, JR. He doesn't want to risk crashing the market because he doesn't want a bunch of people to lose their 401ks. He probably knows from 2008 that in market crashes, even though the big boys get really hurt, that retail gets hurt even more. And he doesn't want to create another mess to clean up. And so what he wants to do is try to fix it moving forward just by rebuilding it on the fly. I'm starting to think that's what he's trying to do. And the SEC is making this big crypto push. They're looking at blockchain. There's a lot of crypto elements coming in. I think Trump is trying to marry all that. And he probably has some people talking to him behind the scenes, tech people and market people working together. I mean, think about every time Trump's come out with something in this administration. He brings the people out, and what do? They have a plan. He's got people in charge of this. He's got this guy doing this over here, and they always come out with a plan, and they're all working together. We've seen how well they all communicate with each other. I think that's what Trump's doing. And so the markets, I do believe Trump will fix them. I don't believe it's too big for him, but I believe he's doing it differently than what we all thought was going to happen and we all secretly hoped would happen. So that doesn't mean we won't see short squeezes, but it's not going to be as volatile or before I was thinking the market would crash, and on the crash, the liquidation would dry up, the liquidity would dry up for the shorts. And so the banks would go after them, be like, we're running out of money. We're forcing the brokers to call you in your margin call. Boom. They have to buy in short squeezes. Boom, boom, boom. Right when the market's crashing. And, all the market people I talk to, they all agree with this thesis that it makes sense. But now it's going to be different, I think, because I don't think Trump wants the markets to crash. Boswell says AT&T dividend will be higher with money market yields. Many oil stocks paying 6 to 7% dividend. That's incredible. That's a good way to build your wealth long term. And then here comes Trump more. This tells me he cares about the markets, guys. The Jerome Powell thing is not just about the economy, because the economy's numbers are decent. They're not amazing, but they're decent. But the Fed has a lot to do with the markets. And Trump is looking at every opportunity to go after Powell. And now it's considering suing Powell for the horrible and corrupt $3 billion renovation at the Federal Reserve, maybe criminal investigation. And this is interesting. In this statement that Trump put out on Truth Social, I've never seen him do this before. In Trump's first term, he was called the Goldman Sachs president. Everybody was like, Goldman Sachs here, Goldman Sachs there. He's in with all these bankers. Well, this proves that he wasn't in with them, but they were trying to run. Trump got in. He didn't really know who to appoint. And so the old school GOP, they were like, well, why didn't you appoint this person, this person? And Trump listened to them. He was like, hey, the Republicans are on my side mostly. He didn't know how corrupt the Republicans were yet. So this is the first time I've ever seen him do this. But he calls out Steve Mnuchin. And he says, Jerome, too late. Powell must now lower the rate. Steve Manuichin, I don't even know what he's saying here, really gave me a beauty when he pushed this loser. So right there, he's calling out Steve Mnuchin for giving him Powell, and now the damage has been done. So everybody's always like, well, you appointed Powell. Well, now we know Trump did it because Steve Mnuchin, his Treasury Secretary at the time, told him to. Steve Mnuchin, big Goldman Sachs guy, gave in. It was all for the bankers. And now Trump's showing you that he didn't really like what Mnuchin did either. That's the first time I've ever heard him say that. So that's very interesting. All right, let's keep moving. Trump, another huge win here. We're getting the map for the country going forward solidified. So the Texas Senate has passed the new U.S. House maps. That's +5 seats for Texas, for the Republicans in Texas, pretty much assuring us the midterms as a win. But the House still has to vote on it. They will be coming back at some point. They're getting those Democrats in, but it's already passed the Senate. So once they pull these Democrats in, kicking and screaming from Illinois that ran away on their duty, once they come in, they'll pass it, and Abbott will sign it into law immediately, and we will have +5 Republican House seats going into the next, and that's before Florida redistricts, that's before Ohio does. So guys, the Republicans are doing it. It's happening. It's no longer talk. There was a lot of people being like, I don't know if Texas is going to actually go through with it. Well, here it is. JD Vance told us he's full on pushing Indiana to do it as well. I mean, it's a full on attack to do this. So excellent news there. It basically assures the House will stay red next time. All right. A couple other short things here, but big. President Trump's FBI and DOJ caught and ended a human trafficking ring in Nebraska. So again, it's always like, oh, Trump's a pedophile. He's a big. Why is he the one? Why is his DOJ and FBI going after more pedophiles and traffickers than any other administration in history? It just keeps coming out. We get news of this. Like, it feels like almost weekly. It's just huge. And then Trump just giving us some interesting stuff here. In 2020, President Trump retweet account shared a story that Biden and Obama killed SEAL Team 6, and this is starting to circulate again. So, hey, are we going to get some exposure on this too with Benghazi and all that, with the Osama bin Laden killing? Because a lot of these SEAL Team 6 guys were killed afterwards. And this is, so will this come out in the Rushgate stuff? Who knows? Very interesting stuff. Randy Loxfeld asks, how will Trump correct the market fraud without changing short selling rules? Well, here's the deal. Naked short selling is already illegal. So if Trump changed the rules on that, it won't change anything. It's already banned. It's already illegal. So the rules don't matter. The problem isn't the rules. The problem is what they're doing around the rules and they're allowed to do. What I think Trump's doing is he's implementing a system where the naked short selling won't be possible, because everything with the blockchain and other whatever else they're putting in, I think it'll make it impossible to do, and it'll weed them out and bleed them a little slower. So that's what I think is going to happen, but we'll watch and see. It could be, and I could be wrong about it, Randy. Another possibility is he's just waiting until he gets a lot of this other stuff done, and he knows that this will be very volatile dealing with the markets. So he's waiting until he can give it his full attention. That's another possibility as well. But I'll tell you, Trump is putting his hands in so many different things since he's gotten in office the last 6 months that I have no doubt that he's trying to fix every single thing he can while he's in office. This is 4 years. And the markets will definitely be a part of it. And you know why I know he knows about the markets? It's because DJT is one of the most heavily short stocks, manipulated stocks in the stock market. And that's his company. He owns 53%, I think, of the shares. He's losing a lot of his personal wealth every time they attack it, every time they manipulate it. And so, yeah, I believe Trump will definitely fix the markets. I really do. All right, guys, we made it this far. I'm going to spend the last part of my show, next 10, 15 minutes, and I'm going to break down. So I put out today this video because last night Milo Yiannopoulos just obliterated Nick Fuentes with receipts. And then Nick Fuentes came back with a response. And in my video, I got so many people on X and on YouTube talking to me about, did you hear Nick's response? He tore up Milo's thing. You don't know what you're talking about. You're low IQ boomer. Somebody called me a boomer, which I thought was hilarious. I was like, I'm 41. It's low IQ here. Anyways, I thought it was actually very interesting. So I went back and I rewatched Nick's response, and I was like, oh my God, this guy is just a joke. And so I put together some stuff to show you guys, and we're going to break down. I believe this guy is one of the most dangerous influencers, and it's not because he's right. Okay, so I'll tell you this about Nick Fuentes. He's one of those people I agree with 75 to 85% of the time. He says a lot of good stuff, but it's that other 10 to 25% that is just toxic, and it's awful, and it's the kind of stuff that is meant to undermine where we're going. He is seeding seeds of doubt, hatred, discord in our country and against the people in charge. This is a guy who is all in on Trump, who says he went to the 2020 thing to call out that it was stolen, all in. And now he's like, oh, in 2024, Trump was their choice. He hates JD Vance. He's buying the Whitney Webb nonsense about Trump, or JD Vance being a technocrat that is being used by Peter Thiel to take over the world. He's undermining. So he was with Trump when it was safe to be with Trump, when it was a little edgy, but when Trump was actually doing less for the country because he was being undermined so much. And now that Trump's getting so much done for the country, that's completely counter to everything we've seen done for the last several decades, that he's completely unwinding the deep state and everything, all these globalist policies. He's unwinding all of these. And now you're telling me he's still one of them? Get out of here. It's ridiculous. And on top of that, he's just a terrible person. He's a terrible human being. And I hope he gets his life together, but he's getting a lot of disenfranchised young men, especially, to listen to him. And just like Andrew Tate, where he says some good stuff, but he's ultimately a degenerate. This is not somebody you want your kid, your young man listening to, because he'll grow up hateful, victimized, blaming everybody for his stuff and not building. Nick Fuentes hasn't built anything except an audience, and it's just he's dangerous in that sense. He's not dangerous to the government. Listen, if he was dangerous to the government, they would have taken care of it. No, he's continued to go on. I can't verify he's a Fed or anything like that. I mean, some of the information is very tantalizing on that front, but I can tell you this. I have no doubt he's some sort of controlled opposition. I have no doubt, because his cancellations, despite all of it all, he's become ultra wealthy, and he's become very influential, despite the fact we're supposed to believe all the media, all the banks, and the entire government's against you. Listen, I know how all this works. I work behind the scenes. I've helped people become famous on social media. I work in marketing. You don't do this organically. It's almost impossible. And you definitely don't do what Nick did organically. If they really go after you, you end up like Ryan Dawson, where you're in the dredges of the internet and you're surviving on barely anybody watching you, people actually having to dig to find your stuff. And Dawson actually even left the country because he just couldn't build his life here anymore. And I have disagreements with Ryan Dawson. Don't get me wrong. I think he's wrong on some stuff, but he's right on a lot, and he's exposed a lot of stuff. And he calls Fuentes a joke. He thinks he's a total shill as well. Fuentes is still chilling in his parents' basement in Chicago. He's a millionaire. And so there's just no way that this guy is the victim and the martyr he claims he is to the government. But let's look at some of his stuff. So last night he did his response to Milo. And here's one of the big things he said. I'm going to have a lot to say on this one, but here's him breaking down the new Trump administration as a technocracy that's looking to take us over, and his criticisms of J.D. Vance as well.
Peter Thiel, the FBI informant and CIA contractor, Elon Musk, the defense contractor and PayPal mafia member with Peter Thiel, close confidant of David Sachs, and...
Now, real quick, this is only a 2-minute clip, so there's a lot of context going into this. There's a lot of people out there who totally believe that all the tech guys are conspiring to take over the world, for lack of a better term. They believe Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Sachs, as he just mentioned, that they're all conspiring to take over the world. Meanwhile, there's no evidence for this at all. They do control a lot of power with their technology. It is scary. They did, all of them have profited by working with the government, which is iffy and maybe unethical, or at least not very respectable. That's all true. But there's also nothing to validate the fact that they're all trying to take over the world the way Fuentes, Whitney Webb, so many others believe. Thiel, which is very funny to me because this completely throws a huge wrench in Fuentes' argument. But when Fuentes was all in on Trump 2016, was huge on Trump. Trump's America first. Trump's the one. He's anti-Hillary. Hillary's who they chose. We need to get Trump in. This was Fuentes that time. Well, guess who was also way ahead of Fuentes on that train was Peter Thiel. So Peter Thiel is one of the globalists, and yet he supported Trump even in 2016 before Nick says he was this guy. It's unbelievable. I mean, this stuff is so stupid. It holds up to no scrutiny at all, but yet they want you to believe that this PayPal mafia is trying to take over the world, and everything they believe about the current Trump administration and J.D. Vance coming up hinges on this one belief, because once that belief is torn apart, the rest of their arguments don't stand. But anyways, that's the context of what he's talking about.
J.D. Vance, who brokered the David Sachs fundraiser with Silicon Valley and Trump, mentored by Peter Thiel, mentored by David Frum, who worked for Bill Kristol with Tucker Carlson.
Mentored is very strong. He made connections. And listen, when you're a young guy coming up in the world of politics, yeah, you make the connections even if you don't perfectly love somebody. And so David Frum, he's a weak conservative, to say it lightly. Thiel did not mentor Vance. He did hire him. He did like him, but he didn't mentor him. There's no evidence of that. So anyways, but this is like every connection is a mentorship because that makes it look bad. So anyways, just breaking this down. This is his response last night, by the way, that everybody told me I had to watch because this is Nick Fuentes really gave it to him. So anyways, here we go.
Thiel, Musk, and Tucker lobbied Trump to pick Vance, and they said, if you don't, the CIA will kill you.
Okay, there's no truth to that whatsoever. That's completely made up. There's nothing to that. And the true story is Trump wasn't sure if he wanted to pick Vance. He was going through a number of people. And then but he felt Vance was the most likely to be MAGA, but he thought he was green. He thought Vance is like, he's only been a senator 2 years. And so then after Trump was shot, Trump decided, you know what, I don't care about the politics anymore. I just need a fighter with me. And then he called J.D. Vance and said, are you ready?
Who's the CIA? Who does the CIA, NSA, FBI, DHS, who do they all contract with? Palantir.
By the way, this is why this guy is so popular, because he is very smart. He's a great talker. He really is. He can put together sentences. He can spout it off. I mean, he talks for a living, and he gets, so when you listen to him, you can hear it. Like he just do. But you have to know, and that's one of the reasons why he's dangerous to young men who don't know any better, who aren't educated, who haven't done the work. They hear this, and it sounds true because he speaks with conviction, and he speaks fast. He speaks so fast, you can't really think about it. And he just overwhelms you. This is a tactic Okay, what Nick Fuentes is doing is a tactic. He overwhelms you with information. Boom, 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 boom. Validation, validation, validation. And he just floods you. He floods the zone. And by the way, he always does his shows by himself. So there's no one challenging him. When he's challenged, he doesn't hold up so well. But he does this. Look at that face. Does that look like a demon in there or what, man? He looks like he's manifesting. Anyways, that's why he's dangerous, though, because of the way he talks. And what he's talking about right now is just he's just making stuff up, along with a lot of this stuff comes from Whitney Webb, her research and her things she's come up with, which is Whitney Webb's a whole nother issue. Anyways.
Here, founded by Peter Thiel and Alex Karp and Joe Lonsdale, Israel First Jews that after October 7th flew their board to Israel and provided them with facial recognition technology to murder Palestinians. J.D. Vance, who upon becoming the VP nominee in his first interview said, "We're going to bomb Iran," who went to the Quincy Institute and said,
okay, so on the Iran thing, Nick Fuentes is going around saying, I told everybody Trump would get us into war with Iran, which is true. He said that. But Trump didn't get us into war with Iran. We blasted their nuclear facility, which Trump has been talking about since 2011, and then it stopped. Now he's going around saying, this is a huge win. I win. I told you we were going to war with Iran. Dude, we did one strike and nothing else happened. Nobody died. How do you call that a win on your prediction? That's not what you were predicting. But again, the context matters. You have to understand the context to understand what he's talking about. Because again, he's flooding the zone with all this information. Did Peter Thiel and them present facial recognition technology to Israel? Yeah, they did. Are they Jews? Yeah. Did they do it just so they could kill Palestinians? No. But do you see how he slides that in there? A little bit of truth, and then bam, my talking point. And he does it so fast and so authoritative that it gets stuck in your head. But that's why you got to break it down.
We need a pro-Israel spin on America First. Tucker, who interviewed Vance 46 times on his show, Vance hired his son. Vance's Rockbridge network was the spawning point of 1789 Capital, founded by Rebecca Mercer and Claire Monster Chris Buskirk, which gave Tucker $15 million. Rebecca Mercer funded Steve Bannon at Breitbart that spawned Milo Yiannopoulos' career.
Okay, so connections in the conservative movement gave each other money. Big freaking deal, Nick. What's your point? That's all just conservatives knowing each other, giving each other money. Of course, we all know that happens. Conservative media, conservative politics. That's not the big expose you think it is, bro.
And Rebecca Mercer hand-selected George Farmer, Candace Owens' husband, to run Parler in 2021.
Again, so Nick's point here is that they're all attacking him, but they're all connected. Oh, okay. And I love what Milo writes here. He's like, gay weirdo cannot wrap his head around the arcane human ritual known as networking. So funny. And manages to pathologize normal political behavior. Explains perfectly why I can't maintain friendships or get anything done. It's so true. And Milo's little dig right there, it just perfectly encapsulates exactly everything in this clip and just nails it. And Nick spends an hour ranting about all this stuff, which again, I just dissected 2 minutes. You can see how easily it's done if you know your stuff. But he does this, and so he spends an hour defending himself, trying to just crap all over you so that you like, oh yeah, okay, I guess you're right. Oh man, dang, you know a lot of stuff. But the way you really defeat these attacks and everything is you can just, the smart people just do it with humor and a line and just let them know how little they bother you. One of the reasons I know Nick is guilty of a lot of what he's being accused of is because he had to spend an hour ranting about it last night to defend himself and just overwhelm everybody. That's not the own you think it is. And all the groypers get mad at me are like, bro, listen to how he responds, man. Oh, he just tears Milo apart, blah, blah, blah. Really? Because that was one of the meatiest parts of his whole response, and I just easily dissected it. It took, this isn't hard, but here's an interesting part about Fuentes. So Fuentes goes after Peter Thiel, but never mentions he'd once drove 4 hours to meet a Thiel rep to ask for money. This guy, Jade McNeil, was there. He had no issue with Thiel when he was trying to get paid until he was told no. And that's when he started attacking Joe Campmasters, etc. See, what the guy is just being exposed like crazy by those who know him. And the people defending him are his listeners who've been sucked into the vortex of his words and his anger, who are disenfranchised, who are angry at the system, who want to believe that it's all corrupt, who want to believe that Fuentes is right about all this, who want to believe that he's their hero in the dark, shouting into the ether, giving them a voice. They want to believe that because he's charismatic. He's got a powerful voice. He does. He's very smart. But the truth is so much worse, and all the people who've spent time with him know it. Here is, his buddy, Ali Akbar, who he worked with for a while, solicited nudes from a 15-year-old fan. Yeah, there's a lot of homosexual stuff going on with Nick in his circle. Also pedophilia with this Ali Gar. Nick Fuentes says, give him a break, and calls it flirting. He attacks his former renter Milo for releasing this. But I'll just play just a little bit here when he's talking about it as flirting. Nude photos from a 15-year-old, and this is how Nick responds to it. That's just to paint the picture of what a stand-up guy this is.
Faith attacks over sexual impropriety. If we're talking about rape and murder and things like that, okay. But when we're talking about flirting, give me a fucking break. Honestly, yeah. And I know that's not a good look, whatever. But that's how I feel about it, to tell you the truth. They think that's a silver bullet. Well, but this guy flirted with people who were 15. Yeah, and that's gross. That's fucking.
Flirted with people who are 15. This is one of his buddies who he's hanging out with on a regular basis. And he's just downplaying the fact the dude was trying to hook up with 15-year-olds, 15-year-old boys. That's disgusting. And he's just like, yeah, okay, it's weird. It's kind of gross, blah, blah, blah. How is this somebody you can trust? How can you believe this guy is okay? It's crazy. Here's a little clip of him talking about his buddy, who, by the way, he knows a lot of the conservative crowds. He talks about Owen Schroyer and stuff from InfoWars. But here's him talking about him and his buddy Ali. This is just quick, 9 seconds.
Out here, I was like, I took Owen Schroyer. I was like, Owen, at least a pedo, right? And he's like, why does everybody say that? I'm like, dude, come on.
Yeah,
are you serious?
How do people not know?
And he's
how do people not know about it? Him and Ali was there. I took Owen Schroyer. I said, Owen, Ali's a pedo, right? And then Nick's response, how do people not know about it? Class act there, Nick. People are like, oh, Nick's fighting for the people, man. He's telling me the truth. Like, the guy's defending pedos. Yeah, not exactly who I think is stand-up guy. But, it continues. He's such a good dude. Here he is going after a carpenter for basically just trying to earn a working man's living.
Yeah, my life is awesome, bro.
Okay.
It's true. Your life, you're going to go bang on nails and you're laughing at my life.
I mean, I'm getting an education. I'm doing shit.
What are you getting in it? Where are you getting an to go to community college?
Okay.
So Nick, the man of the working people, the guy who his whole response to Tucker was like, Tucker's not a working man. I'm the working man. I came from the working class background. And now he's mocking people for being a carpenter, going to community college. And this guy he's despicable.
Oh, no. Because he goes to a community college. What are you studying?
I have one more question. So, okay. You're shitting on the nail bangers, the fucking blue collar, right?
Yeah, right.
So you're trying to appeal to these people. What are you going to say? What if somebody flips this?
I'm trying to appeal to rich people, actually.
It's gross. And this is a trend. This is a trend with him. Here he is again, just going after the white working class. This is supposed to be the hero that everybody's telling me, he's so great.
I think on Twitter, in our Twitter community, they said, Nick Fuentes never gets his hands dirty. That's my problem with him. Isn't that the goal? Isn't that the goal?
Is that like the most annoying laugh you've ever heard in your life? Just like the most demeaning laugh. This is the guy. I mean, again, fine. If people watch my show, they defend him all the time. But this is an influencer who is big time on the right. Okay, he's there. He's been showing up on Alex Jones' show left and right, which, I've been telling you guys some of my issues with Alex, but this has been a huge red flag that Alex keeps defending Nick Fuentes and putting him on his show, all this. And listen, you guys know me. I've called out Candace Owens. Tucker's been saying some stuff I haven't loved, but when they go after him, I can't help it. I mean, it's not hard to pick a side here. This guy is despicable. He's living a high life. He is. And he's crying out that he's the victim, and he's telling everybody that he's fighting for them while he's looking down at them at the same time. This is the worst kind of person. He really is. This guy acts just like what I imagine all the Democrats in their high palaces, politically speaking, how they think about us. And this guy's supposed to be the anti-deep state guy. How are you talking like this to people? These are like the only people in this nation who will save this nation are the working class people, because we're the only class that there's enough of us. I could never look down on somebody who worked with their hands. You know why? I worked with my hands for years. It's honorable to do that. And of course you want to get to the point where you get past that if you can. But guess what? Nick didn't ever do it. He was 18 when he started talking on a screen. Started making multi-millions by the time he was 26. And then there's a whole, like, he got debanked. Well, he got super chats through a payment processor that takes card. Do people think he keeps that money under his mattress? He has a dozen examples of him telling groypers to mass report himself and others trying to get us banned. There's so many people. Here, he said he was debanked, but here's a clip from the time when he said he was debanked, saying he was going to use it, attacked him for funds from his own checking account. I'm not even going to play it anymore. It's not worth it. Nick Fuentes on this text thread admits he was warned about J6 being a trap, went anyway, and still told groypers to storm the Capitol. This guy he's using his people. He doesn't care. He just, and again, I think he's completely controlled opposition. And here it is, like right here, just kind of, this guy posted this like an own, like this is proof Nick Fuentes is great. He says, Nick Fuentes, nobody 8 years ago, 18-year-old college dropout, exiled by the Daily Wire, publicly mocked by Ben Shapiro for asking questions, just asking questions. 8 years later at 26, he alone, this guy, they treat him like he's a hero. Banned from every platform, shaping the minds of millions of young men. That's the dangerous part right there. You don't want this guy shaping the mind of young men. It's pathetic. All this while becoming a millionaire, running a presidential campaign with Yi, dining with the president, being too influential for Elon Musk, Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens, an entire political system to ignore. This nobody from Chicago, through sheer will and talent, rising to become Nick Fuentes' example of American exceptionalism. Listen, again, I'm just going to say it one more time. If you are 18 years old and all you do is stream, and you haven't built a business, you haven't created a product, all you do is stream and talk to people. You're not funding your advertising because you got no money, so you have no way to push. If that's where you're coming from, and you're so dangerous that the entire United States government goes after you, they debank you, every platform bans you, the whole media cuts you out. If you're so dangerous and you haven't created anything, there is no way in hell you become a multimillionaire with a reach to millions of people. It's impossible. It doesn't happen. Because the fact is, Nick is platformed by somebody. There's somebody bankrolling this guy. There's somebody who's propped him up. I don't know if he's a Fed. I can't speak to that. But what he did is impossible without help. If he is as dangerous to them as he says he is, this never would have happened. He never would have done that. Because if you can't make your money by your platform, and Nick's not the kind of guy, he's not an entertainment guy. It's not like the only people who get millions and millions of followers organically with no advertising, no connections. The only people who do that are people who do entertainment stuff. They put out like shorts, get millions of views on that. Mr. Beast types get started that way, but even Mr. Beast had help. The only way you do that in today's day and age, and I'm telling you as somebody who works behind the scenes, I know how the game is played. What he did, what that guy just said, it's impossible to do. If it's almost impossible to do without everybody being against you. It's impossible to do with everybody being against you. We're talking about a guy from 18 to 26, did nothing but stream, banned on all these platforms. Where do you make your revenue? It's not possible. It's not possible. And some people were like, bro, you're just jealous because you're not as good as him. Okay. I'm 41. I've been doing business, online business, marketing a long time. Been around this stuff a long time. Politics, 20 years. Been a long time. You don't do this without help. And that to me is the number one tell that Nick Fuentes is not who he claims to be. I can't say if he's a Fed. I can't say if he's an informant, any of that. I can't speak to that. I don't know, although there is interesting evidence. But I can tell you, he is 100% a fraud. There is no doubt in my mind. He is 100% a fraud. So that is my response to his response video last night. So come at me, Groiper bros. Like, let's see what else you got after that. Anyways, all right, guys, on that note, we're winning big. I'm glad people like this are being exposed. It's good. It's good times. Oh yeah, he's wealthy, but yes, he also still lives in his basement because it's all part of the show. But anyways, listen, love you guys. Appreciate you. We're winning so hard right now. Members Live tomorrow night. If you don't want to miss it, if you're not a member, get in that description, click that link to Patreon, get a free month membership so you can get the Members Lives and access to the Discord, which is going 24/7. M10 was very exciting today. Finger looks like it's turning around. So there's some interesting stuff going on in the stock market for sure. So watching that stuff carefully. Groipers are they're like the movement behind Nick Fuentes and this whole, like, we hate Israel, we're the true America First crowd. They all call themselves Groipers. It's disgusting. It's like just a couple letters off from groomer, and it's weird. I don't know. They're basically like Nick, like just looking for excuses to be victims and blame everything on other races, and it's crazy. Anyways, love you guys. Again, please like, subscribe before you head out. Appreciate that. And then, as always, let's pray before we go, because we all need it. So, Heavenly Father, thank you for today. God bless these amazing people in this chat. Thank you for their support. I thank you, God, just for the way they challenge me to get better as well, and to keep learning and growing and doing this show. And everything else. And so I thank you for them. And Lord, thank you for the president, everything he's doing, all the people fighting for our country. Thank you that's turning around. We bless them. We pray protection over them and wisdom, God, and boldness in Jesus' name. Pray for our country, Lord, for justice and prosperity to come back. And yeah, Lord, I just pray health, especially over Thomas Dubois and anybody else who needs it. And yeah, God, just bless the people here with their needs. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Love you guys. Have a wonderful night, and I will see you all